With the sheer cost of modern day vehicles, they should last forever. But sadly, they don't. I'm going to share a list of 5 of the worst vehicles that won't even make it 100,000 miles, no matter what you do. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
Well, the truth of the matter is almost any vehicle can last forever if you throw enough cash at it. If you blow a gearbox, you can expect to pay $8,000 to $12,000, $15,000 for a double clutch gearbox. If you blow an engine, it might even cost you as much as $15,000 or $20,000, $30,000 in the wrong vehicle. Unfortunately, even just to bear down and do some troubleshooting and maintenance and servicing on some of your electrical systems like modules and wiring could cost an immense amount of money because it's labor, and labor comes at about $200 an hour for your average shop rate. So that will literally run you in the poorhouse if you just want to keep the car going. That's why the first vehicle on my list that likely won't make it 100,000 miles is this little unit right here. Now, this is my personal car, and I can speak from direct experience. Mercedes-Benz, as we look right here, has a stealthy reputation for being one of the very bottom. Right now, they are one of the lowest in terms of overall reliability. Let me explain a few things why I don't think this car here will make it 100,000 miles. Let's take a quick look. We wanted to buy this because we wanted something unique and different. They're gorgeous. I mean, all starts with these gorgeous artistic looking headlights and beautiful starlight grille on there. Of course, you have these beautiful rims. And look, rocker panels that are flaring out. We have these gorgeous lines and these haunches that make this vehicle look very stealthy. Gorgeous rear taillights, all LED, pop-out reversing camera, and this whole car just has a beautiful stance to it. Absolutely gorgeous. But let me just take this from the top. Some of the things that we've been experiencing, and I truly do believe a lot of these lower-end Mercedes-Benz cars are not built for the long haul. Just look in the local trader, look at the local classifieds, and you won't see a ton of these vehicles with those higher miles. Yeah, there's lots in the lower range, but try to find some well over 100,000 miles, good luck. But take a look. Check low beam, check right low beam, active brake assist function. Issues with this, blind spot assist. So that's just the beginning of where this all starts. Obviously, these vehicles have way too much technology, and a lot of electronics means that you have to come to the dealer. It's funny, when you look at a lot of these faults on the dashboard and you look in the owner's manual like it tells you to here, all it does is say, go to get to a certified center. Basically, it means money out of your pocket. That's why a lot of people get tired of paying the high dollars. Of course, in warranty time, it doesn't matter. Once you're outside of warranty, that's where it gets expensive. We are also developing some noises as your vehicle rolls. There's a bit of a grinding, crunching noises at low speed as you're slightly turning the wheel. We also have noisy brakes in these vehicles. And quite honestly, I've heard of stories now, if you browse the forums, people talking about hold pistons because of detonation PCV issues and possibly just low grade of fuel taking a toll and blowing a hole in cylinder number 1 seems to get the radar. So while these are absolutely gorgeous vehicles, the transmissions hold up. It's the electrics. They're literally going to blow you away, rip your wallet out of your hands, and as well, you're thinking about possible engine issues here. That's why I personally don't believe the C-Class, CLA, A-Class, any of those are built for the long haul, and they won't make 100,000 miles. And there's the next one, you won't make 100,000 miles. I dare you to try to prove me wrong and show me some classified ads with vehicles with more than 100,000. Let's take a quick look, and what are we talking about here? Well, it's a Land Rover product, no surprise, and it's a Range Rover. I mean, sure, they've got the big glorious wheels, single touch access in, and of course, they always have these glorified looking aftermarket style taillights, and sadly, only royalty can actually afford to keep these outside of warranty. Let's take a look inside. Absolutely glorious inside, very comfortable, but it's the electronics here that'll bite you in the rump. The infotainment system will die and it'll force you back to the dealer to get that rectified, and that's a frequent occasion. And so electrics are a big part of the problem. Another part of the problem, suspension issues, as you can look right here. Not a big shocker. Here, let me demonstrate here for you. As you can see, it's leaning a little bit. Why is it leaning? Well, if you look at the back here, this rear end is a little higher than this rear end. Take a look. This is sitting down on its rump, and that's because the air ride suspension that these vehicles are equipped with will let you down, and when they do, it settles down. And catastrophically failing, causing you thousands of dollars to rectify the problem. We also don't want to forget leaks. Yes, there's a sunroof underneath all that snow, common failure for leaks. And under the bonnet there, well, coolant leaks. Lots of issues with coolant left on the ground, whether it's some of the plastic pipes, water pumps, thermostats. As well, you can expect problems with the fuel pump and or the high pressure fuel injection system. So sadly, as glorious as these are to drive around in, they're not so glorious outside of warranty because you will be paying the piper through and through again. And there's the next vehicle that won't last 100,000 miles. You know what? The first time I experienced one of these Chevy Cruzes like we see here was a few years back in Las Vegas. It was a rental car. At first, it seemed like a fun little car. After about 15 minutes, the novelty and the honeymoon literally wore over. But let me talk about some of the issues, other than the fact that when I first got out of the car, the door dropped down. I opened the door and it seemed to drop about a half an inch. So it felt right away like body integrity was a little bit of an issue right there. And I didn't even know anything about these at the time. Chevy Cruze, as we see right here, this is the LT. And of course, there we go in all of its glory, buried in snow where it probably should be buried under dirt. Funky little tail lights, as you see right there. And yes, it even comes with a set of alloy wheels. Circle around to the front and they have a great little set of headlights on there on this little Chevy, and they have this pointed front nose, which makes it look a little bit on the sporty side. You can see everything from coolant leaks, steering and suspension issues, and electrical accessories that cause a lot of problems and grief for the owner, and even some throttle lag in certain models. But the worst thing is there's lots of customers that have gone by the dodo bird and have had to throw this car straight to the dumpster because of cracked pistons. That's right, detonation, cracked pistons, ring lands, and the entire engine was shot. Transmissions go like they're going out of style, poorly built, not made to hold up all that well, and quite frankly, if you got to put a transmission in for $5,000 or $10,000 for an engine, you're quickly going to outrun the value of this car, and it's no point in keeping it around any longer than that. And that's also why this vehicle won't last more than 100,000 miles. This particular brand has had troubles with EcoBoost engines, from 4 cylinders all the way up to V6s, dropping valves into 2.7s, and the smaller engines eating oil, burning oil, and absolutely blowing head gaskets in some of their later models. But this particular generation of vehicle is particularly bad. What do we have here? There you go. It's a Ford, and this is the SE PowerFlex. Here they actually removed the decal because they were just embarrassed. Of course, it does have a great little overhang. Everybody seems to like these. They look sporty, and definitely they're a price point car. They're practical. You get 4 doors. You get lots of seating capacity there. They have great looking wheels, but let's face it, very cheap looking here. And the grille here leaves a lot to be desired as well. And really very few of these are destined for 100,000 miles. Quite frankly, they're scrap way before that. But here's a list of typical issues you're going to find, and there's a big one here we want to talk about. Door latch features. You can't actually open the door properly or close it. Steering issues. That's right, rough, noisy, as well as inconsistent steering rack caused problems for a lot of customers. The alternator fault causing lights flickering as well as poor charging. Fuel pipe leaks as well is problematic, as is exhaust leaks and exhaust problems underneath this vehicle. There's also problems with the key getting stuck in the ignition. That's right, you try, and even with moving the wheel, you can't actually get the key out. A lot of customers complaining about that being a problem. But the big issue is in 2011 to 2016, they had what they call the powder shift. Well, okay, power shift gearbox. It was a dry dual clutch setup. Slips, jerks, juddery, and literally were destined for failure early miles, low miles, to the point where you had to replace that in very short order. Drivability was horrible on them. Those were the peak of the worst of the vehicles for the Ford Focus SE like we're looking at here. But quite honestly, there's enough problems here to choke a horse, and most of them generally won't even make it anywhere near 100,000 miles. When most people dream and fantasize about Italian cars, they think Ferrari, Lamborghini, maybe Maserati. But they forgot about brands like this. What are we talking about here? One that definitely won't make 100,000 miles. I guarantee you won't find them. Look in the classifieds. It's also not well supported in the North American market. Nobody seems to really want these. There's not a lot of them on the road. It never really quite caught on. And while there's a hotter version, the Abarth is actually fun. That's an enthusiast car. What we have here is a smaller subspecimen, if you will, of the species. It's not a particularly great unit, but let's take a quick look around here. Clearly, it's a small Italian car made by Fiat. Of course, here they've got the little bug eyes, very similar in stature to the Mini, as well as even the Smart car. So in Europe, obviously, this generation works, because with diesel engines and manual gearboxes, it's just cheap to run and easy. But in the North American market, everybody wants automatics. And so the automatic transmissions aren't good. Even the manual gearboxes aren't that solid, but it's the gas engines here that just really are a disaster. I mean, the quality of materials isn't great. Look inside. The materials just generally don't wear all that well. You've got scuffing and plastics that wear out, leather that just doesn't hold up, and the fabric is weak. But it's not interior materials that prevent a vehicle from lasting, it's everything else that this thing provides. For example, weak gearboxes are known to blow out. Suspension issues. Yeah, you can get the wobbly, you can actually get clunking and banging. The suspension is very fragile, built in a very lightweight fashion. We also have coolant leaks, oil leaks, and the worst of all, blown head gaskets is a common phenomenon with these cars. And when you start blowing engines up, you're talking $3,000 to $5,000, $7,000 to refurbish an engine. When the gearbox goes, which isn't uncommon either, that's another few grand. Then you start having to refurb some of the other issues, like some of the brake issues, as well as some of the suspension problems, which these are well known for, power steering issues, overheating problems, and generally just a weak design means this vehicle won't last very long. To say 100,000 miles is an extreme stretch. I haven't seen personally any that have made that number. If you see one, I'd love to hear about it. But clearly, as cute and fresh as it looks, it's definitely not one of those vehicles that's meant to last. With that being said, right there, check it out. If you want a great new vehicle, 2024 is a new year. There's some of my choices. Hope to see each and every one of you in the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.